Welcome back to the Noble Ones podcast. I wanted to thank you for joining me if you're here for the first time or if you're returning. I truly appreciate you being here and walking on this path of emotional awareness as we talk about our feelings and emotions and kind of share our stories of how we kind of overcome personal challenges by being more aware of the thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and behaviors that we go through on a daily basis. So thanks for being here. And this week, I want to talk about opinions and how our own personal truth really matters more than other people's opinions and how that relates to self-confidence. So I felt like lately this has just been coming up for me. And, the reason being, I am switching some things around in my business and building some new coaching programs. And so I came up with a method that I'm going to be introducing, and I love it. And it felt really resonant to me, and I'm super excited to introduce it. But there was something made me want to ask for someone else's opinion, and actually a couple people. So I shared it, and what I didn't do was first question, okay, why am I asking for other people's opinion? If I already know this is something I want to do, if I felt intuitively like this is the way I want to bring it forward, I didn't stop and question why. And so there was something in me that was lacking confidence that I went out and did that. Well, the thing is, if you're not sure of why you're asking for it first, and you don't take into accountability how someone might respond, they might not agree with you, right? Their opinion might be completely different. It could impact and also compound your lack of confidence. So that was one thing that I noticed. And the other thing was I noticed a lot lately, and this is probably, you can comment on this if this is happening to you personally. It's definitely happening in society where we all have freaking opinions about everything. And it's this big cancel culture. And if you don't think the way I think, then, I'm canceling you as a friend or, whatever it is. It's huge right now, this just big separation theme where, I think what we need to move towards is more unity and more acceptance of other people and their differences. So what I notice is, you're having conversations with people and you're just sharing, maybe it's something you're excited about, something that happened to you, something that you're thinking about doing, and other people will just come in and start their devil's advocate. And what is that? And I think it is their own self-doubt, their own looking at what you're about to do or thinking about doing or what you did through their lens, and it makes them uncomfortable. So then we'll play the devil's advocate, or they'll give you an unsolicited opinion when you didn't even ask for it, right? So it's like that old phrase that I've heard for years, which is opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. And it's true. So let's dig into the reasons why I think we ask for other people's opinions and how we can then use more emotional awareness. And I'll give you a few tips to, just be more confident in your own decisions. So the first thing is judgment. And that can be both. It can be you're afraid of what other people will think, but I think it's actually more our own self-judgment. Because we've all had things that we perceive as failure or things where we felt like we could have done something better or we weren't successful. I don't really look at failure so much anymore. I used to, but now I see it as opportunities for growth because you wouldn't know what's better for you or what's right for you if you hadn't done something that was the opposite of that. So this self-judgment comes from feeling like, am I capable? Am I going to be able to do that? Do I have the resources to do that? Am I smart enough to do it? So that's this self-judgment. And then what you do is you'll go and ask for someone else's opinion because you don't feel quite confident in yourself. And again, if someone agrees with more the negative. So, okay, this just popped into my head. So you know how it's kind of like that misery loves company because it's energy. So if you go into a situation, let's say you're with a group of friends and you start talking about, oh my God, guess what this happened? And it's this negative thing. I got in a fight with my husband, and can you believe he did this or that? Everyone's going to glom on to that. So all you're doing is really compounding the feeling that you already had. You're kind of seeking out confirmation that you're not capable of doing this thing. So self-judgment. The second thing is just fear of failure. And again, that comes from the past where maybe you did do something and the outcome wasn't as good as you expected, or you took a risk and it didn't work out the way that you wanted to. So now there's this fear, this uncertainty. Well, what if I make the wrong decision again? And, that's a real feeling. But again, that's just needing to go back within and ask yourself, okay, why? Where's this coming from? And it's typically linked to the past. And another thing is validation. And I talked about this on a different podcast about what's with our need to be seen and get external validation from each other. And it's just, what are other people going to think? If I make this decision to leave my relationship, not go to college, switch jobs, do this thing to help me grow, what are other people going to think? And so instead of just doing it and then finding out what they think, you kind of try to gauge it before you make the decision, which again is just stalling what you already know. So you'll ask for other people's opinions to get validation on whether or not you're doing what you think you should be doing. Another reason why is, perfection. I feel like this has come up in every single podcast because it's a big theme in my life that perfectionism just stalls us. It's this excuse to not have to move forward until everything's perfectly lined up in a row. Well, I want to do this thing, but I can't do it until the kids go to college. I want to do this thing, but I can't do it until I have X amount of money in the bank. I want to do this thing, but I can't do it until I take those 9 other classes and get those certifications. So it's this constant feeling that we're not enough, that things aren't perfect, that we're not going to be able to do it. And it's just, so we'll ask for other people's opinions because again, I'm making these excuses because I may not be ready. And you're seeking this validation that's linked to actually just your perfectionism. And then the last reason that I wrote that I think why we ask for so many opinions or people give unsolicited advice is because it's like the bubble effect. I feel like we were all kind of raised, not all, but a lot of us in this protective bubble where society tries to keep you from failure. And failure is your greatest opportunity for growth because you don't know if you want to head in a different direction or you want to change something in your life unless it's not working for you or unless you've failed. And I see this a lot in my younger clients that are maybe they're in high school or young college kids, and they literally are paralyzed about what they should do next because their entire life they've been in this bubble of their parents keeping them from falling in their own shit. And I was also one of those parents, being super intuitive. I could tell the things that when kids were doing, oh my God, if he keeps going down that path, this is going to happen or that's going to happen. So then you try to insert yourself and you basically corrupt their free will to make their own decisions. And, I'm not saying that not to let your kids, it's a safety issue, but for the most part, they get to this point where they know right from wrong. And now you just have to let them make their own decisions because the quicker that they start to make mistakes, the quicker that they'll learn how to be resilient, how to recover from those, how to go within themselves to find the resources to get through shit. If we're always in this protective bubble and not allowing people to grow on their own and kind of have their own journey and use their own free will to make decisions, they're going to always want other people's opinions. They're going to be always seeking that external validation, guide me. Am I doing this right? Should I do this? Should I do that? So I think the bubble behavior is a really big one. So another thing that I wrote down, just to share a story with you, was I remember I started a business back in, I think it was 2012. And I was in sales. Most of my career has been in sales. And I really have this love and passion for fashion and clothing. And again, for helping other people. So I started a business, a personal styling business. And I really, really loved it. I really loved working with women and going into their closet and seeing how like the things that they were choosing to wear were so reflective of how they felt about themselves. And so being able to like build people's confidence, there was a million reasons why I did it and why I liked it. But the point of sharing the story is I let other people's opinions get in my way of continuing that business. And it was fear. It was like, well, that's not really a viable business. Like, how are you going to make money doing that? Because it came from a sales career where I was making great money. And how is that going to compare? And would you be able to, what about insurance? What about this? What about that? So it's like I did it for a while and then I got scared. I let other people's opinions impact my confidence in growing that business and I gave it up. And so that's another example of where I've learned along the way that I have to listen to my own intuition. And I'm kind of back on that same trajectory of wanting to help people, wanting to empower people, wanting people to see that those truths inside that you think you should be following, that next decision or that next area of growth, you're getting that feeling for a reason. And so don't let other people's opinions impact that. Go within yourself and figure out what it is that's lacking, that's keeping you stuck, that's keeping you afraid to make that decision. So that brings me to what are a few things that we can do to start working on the confidence and the self-awareness around sticking to your own truth and making those decisions and moving you forward, getting you unstuck from making a decision. So the first one is stop asking. Stop asking people for their opinion. And instead of doing that, figure out why you're asking. So this isn't about like coworkers, because obviously if you work on a team, you're co-creating, you're doing things, you're moving things forward together. So there's strategies and you have to come together in opinions and like your relationships at home, things, you're trying to decide for your family. I'm talking about your own personal decisions for your growth, where you're trying to go with your life. So stop asking people. Why are you asking? Dig into that. I'm asking because I'm afraid. I'm asking because I am doubting myself. I'm asking, and if those are the answers that are coming up, then that takes more digging into where that's coming from. What's the underlying belief that's keeping you from believing you're not capable of something? The second one, so stop asking. The second one is stop telling. What happens when you go out and tell everybody what you're about to do? You kind of dilute the energy around it. And I've learned this the hard way. I love to communicate. I love to share. I have a lot of ideas. And so I'm always excited about, oh my God, my creative ideas. And I'll go out and I'll share it. And then what happens is energetically, people that aren't seeing the way that you're seeing, or they don't think it's possible, or they've never stepped out on a limb, whatever it is, they'll start like throwing those seeds of doubt at you. And it dilutes the energy behind the decision that you're trying to make, the momentum that you're trying to use to go forward. So stop telling people. Keep it to yourself. And the stop asking, figure out why. Figure out why you have the need to tell somebody what you're doing. So that's the second one. The third one is the inner timing. I think timing is really important. When you're trying to make a decision about something that you want to change or shift in your life, a lot of it has to do with timing. And if for some reason you're not feeling ready, then there's still something within you that needs to be looked at. And it's always going to be an emotion, but don't pull the plug too early on things. And I've done this before. I think I said it in the last podcast, where I knew that the job that I had in sales for a long time, I mean, it was a great job. It was serving like financial needs. I loved the industry that I was in, all of that. But what was the stronger feeling that I was having was, this isn't creative. This isn't my mission or my purpose. I'm not really serving other people. I'm not allowed to kind of create my own thing, make money for myself instead of for other people. So there were stronger feelings there. However, the timing wasn't right. So like I said, I quit my job. I shoved all my shit in a storage unit and I went traveling, and I literally like abandoned all the security that I had because I just, felt like the decision needed to be made right then. And so I would say inner timing. If you're not sure about something, wait a little bit longer and dig into the why, dig into the underlying beliefs of what's holding you back. And then the other thing, inner timing and then outer exposure. Exposure to me is just about doing it, stepping into the fear, picking something small and exposing yourself to the fear of doing it will actually empower you to be able to do that on a higher level. So for example, I have a friend that is looking to get back into dating. And so she's about to expose herself and she's going to put herself on a dating website. And she's ready to do that. And I think that's great because, she's been sitting back, waiting, is this the right time? And feeling like she's ready to meet people. So to put yourself out there like that, expose yourself, start to go on dates, meet different people, will give her the confidence that she needs to start discerning relationships again and who's right for her and what she's really looking for. So that's an example. Or let's say it has to do like with a fitness goal. Expose yourself to something, sign up for a 5K and just put yourself out there, which shows yourself that you can do it. So these are things that I think will help to pull back some of that power to yourself. And instead of always going out seeking other people's opinions, external validation, or telling people everything that you're doing, and then they start to be the devil's advocate, it's almost like being more private, I guess, is a way about what you're going to be doing, and then just showing yourself that you can do it, that your inner truth is there for a reason. You're being, you get these ideas, you get these intuitive hits, you get these inner knowings about what's next for you. And I always say is your higher self, that noble version of you is always guiding you to what's next on your path. And I think we all innately know it, but we'll stay stuck for way too long because of all these other things. We're judging ourselves. We're afraid to fail. We're looking for external validation. We're stuck in perfectionism, or we've never actually practiced it because we've been stuck in this little bubble of like everybody telling us what we should be doing and not actually doing things based on our own free will and the choices that are best for us. So again, let's go over the tips in order to build more self-confidence and rely less on other people's opinions. Stop asking for them. Stop telling people everything that you're doing. Make sure that the timing is right before you make a decision, and expose yourself to smaller situations that give you the confidence to make the bigger ones. So I hope that that is helpful. It gives you some things to think about. And again, just tapping into your own emotions, you guys. And I think one thing that can really help is writing this stuff out. A lot of times when I'm coaching people, an example would be someone will say to me, I want to switch jobs because I want to make more money. And I'll say, well, what is it that money is going to give you? And then they'll say, well, I want to get a new house and I want to get a new car. Again, those are external things. So what you want to dig into is it's the freedom. Money will give you freedom, the feeling of freedom, the feeling of stability, the freedom to make more choices, travel. And what will the travel feel like? The travel will feel, so it's like you want to tap into the feelings of what it is that you're trying to create. And I think a great way to do that is to write it out. Because a lot of times what we think that we're chasing, the thing that we're chasing, what we really want is the feeling, the emotion that will come when we get to that. And those emotions are already within you. You're able to cultivate those things. But that comes through emotional awareness. That comes through raising your consciousness by doing this inner work. So until next time, noble ones, thank you so much for being here, for liking, subscribing, sharing the podcast with anyone that you think this information will resonate with. And until next week, much love. Stay noble.